So here's a brief little background of myself. My name is Dale, and I have a background in radio broadcasting, and started out in news and music, and in the Western Washington area, and then into Eastern Washington, also into management and advertising. Ended up in Seattle, and also Corvallis, Oregon, and Nashville at some smaller stations, some 100,000 watt stations, 50,000 watt, and had an enjoyable time raising our children. So now everybody's grown up, and I have some time. I thought I'd enjoy reading and sharing the classics. And this is one of the classics, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. And from my research, I believe it's in a public domain. If not, I'll have to figure something else out here. So it kind of has an intro. Thought I'd share this with you. Of all the men and women that are in the novels of Jane Austen, none is more consistently appealing than Elizabeth Bennet, the heroine of Pride and Prejudice. Jane Austen herself freely admitted her affection for Elizabeth, and after even the briefest encounter with the wit and intelligence of this clever young woman, few readers of this delightful novel can fail to share this affection. Although Pride and Prejudice is not autobiographical, Jane Austen drew heavily on her own background and personal knowledge when she wrote it, and it was natural for her to endow her heroine with many of her own characteristics and circumstances. The similarities between the two women's lives are numerous, for both came from a large middle-class family living in a small English village, and both enjoyed many of the same pursuits and activities. Jane Austen was born in 1775, the seventh of 8 children, in a genteel but not wealthy family. The Austens led the simple, quiet life, sharing their light domestic duties, which left Jane ample leisure time in which to pursue those pleasures considered suitable for a young woman of her class. Needlework, dancing, writing, and reading were among the most popular. Jane first began writing to amuse herself and her family, and her reading was sufficiently broad and critical that she saw the faults of the popular novel before she was 15. Simple though her life was, Jane, like the true artist, realized that there was a wealth of story material inherent in it. No fancied flights of imagination were necessary, no violence, passion, climax followed by climax. Simply and directly, she portrayed the kind of life she actually saw. And in doing so, she opened to her successors the whole area of realistic fiction, permanently enriching English literature to an extent that few other writers have achieved. In her wit and gently probing humor, in her clear, precise prose, in her rich representations of her stratum of society, Jane Austen has never been surpassed. Pride and Prejudice, written when Jane Austen was 21, but not published until 1813, 2 years after Sense and Sensibility had been long most popular of her novels, and in point of liveliness of style and content and excellence of structure, it is her best. Mansfield Park and Emma were both published in 1814, and Persuasion in 1818. Northanger Abbey, which Jane Austen had sold in 1802, was not published until 1818, the year after her death. So, we begin. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, Airmont Books. Let us begin here. Hope you are well, by the way. Okay. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. However, little known the feelings or views of such a man may be on his first entering a neighborhood, this truth is so well fixed in the minds of surrounding families that he is considered as the rightful property of someone or other of their daughters. "My dear Mr. Bennet," said his lady to him one day, "have you heard that Netherfield Park is let at last?" Mr. Bennet replied that he had not. "But it is," returned she, "for Mrs. Long has just been here, and she told me all about it." Mr. Bennet made no answer. "Do not you want to know who has taken it?" cried his wife impatiently. "You want to tell me, and I have no objection to hearing it." Ah, this was invitation enough. "Why, my dear, you must know Mrs. Long says that Netherfield is taken by a young man of large fortune from the north of England, that he came down on Monday in a chaise and four to see the place, and was so much delighted with it that he agreed with Mr. Morris immediately that he is to take possession before Michaelmas, and some of his servants are to be in the house by the end of next week." "What is his name?" "Bingley." "Is he married or single?" "Oh, single, my dear, to be sure. A single man of large fortune, 4,000 or 5,000 a year. What a fine thing for our girls!" "How so? How can it affect them?" "My dear Mr. Bennet," replied his wife, "how can you be so tiresome? You must know that I am thinking of his marrying one of them." Is that his design in settling here?" "Design? Nonsense! How can you talk like that? But it is very likely that he may fall in love with one of them, and therefore you must visit him as soon as he comes." I see no occasion for that. You and the girls may go, or you may send them by themselves, which perhaps will be still better, for as you are as handsome as many of them, or any of them, Mr. Bingley might like you the best of the party." "My dear, you flatter me. I certainly have had a share of my beauty, but I do not pretend to be anything extraordinary now. When a woman has 5 grown-up daughters, she ought to give over thinking of her own beauty. In such cases, a woman has not often much beauty to think of." "But, my dear, you must indeed go and see Mr. Bingley when he comes into the neighborhood." "It is more than I engage for, I assure you." "But consider your daughters. Only think what an establishment it would be for one of them." "Sir William and Lady Lucas are determined to go, merely on that account. For in general, you know, they visit no newcomers. Indeed, you must go, for it will be impossible for us to visit him, if you do not." "You are over-scrupulous, surely. I dare say Mr. Bingley will be very glad to see you, and I will send a few lines by you to assure him of my hearty consent to his marrying whichever he chooses of the girls. Though I must throw in a good word for my little Lizzie." "I desire you will do no such thing. Lizzie is not a bit better than the others, and I am sure she is not half so handsome as Jane, nor half so good-humored as Lydia, but you are always giving her the preference." "They have none of them much to recommend them," replied he. "They're all silly and ignorant like other girls, but Lizzie has something more of quickness than her sisters." "Mr. Bennet, how can you abuse your own children in such a way? You take delight in vexing me. You have no compassion on my poor nerves." You mistake me, dear. I have a high respect for your nerves. They are my old friends. I have heard you mention them with consideration these 20 years at least. Ah, you do not know what I suffer. But I hope you will get over it and live to see many young men of 4,000 a year come into the neighborhood. It will be no use to us if 20 such should come, since what? Since you will not visit them. Depend upon it, my dear, that when there are 20, I will visit them all. Mr. Bennet was so odd a mixture of quick parts, sarcastic humor, reserve, and caprice that the experience of 23 years had been insufficient to make his wife understand his character. Her mind was less difficult to develop. She was a woman of mean understanding, little information, and uncertain temper. Where she was discontented, she fancied herself nervous. The business of her life was to get her daughters married. Its solace was visiting and news. End of chapter 1.